Over the past year, I've undertaken the ambitious task of recreating my hometown of Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada in Cities Skylines 2 at a perfect 1-to-1 scale, down to the very last pothole. It's all here, meticulously crafted in-game, and let me tell you, it's been a wild ride so far. I kicked things off almost a year ago with 2 videos diving into what makes Moncton a vibrant city to live in, and I got started on the heart of the city, the downtown core. My initial intent was simple: build the city neighborhood by neighborhood, documenting the entire process. But here's the thing, Moncton is no small town with a population of over 180,000 residents over a sprawling area. My build and document approach was about as efficient as Moncton's real-life rush hour traffic and proved too slow to be sustainable. It would have taken years to finish the city at this pace. So I pivoted. I went full speedrunner mode and built the entire city off camera. That's right, hospitals, schools, fire stations, those weird suburban streets that lead to nowhere, it's all done. Moncton is alive in Cities Skylines 2. However, it wasn't always smooth sailing. I faced many issues along the way, from game crashes to death waves and everything in between. Is the city perfect? Nope, not at all. But this is Cities Skylines 2, not ArcGIS. There might just be a missing tree or two, and that's it. In the coming episodes in this new phase of the series, I'm diving headfirst into some of Moncton's biggest urban planning headaches, such as some of the city's worst congested intersections and the region's public bus network that struggles to meet demand, among other things not entirely related to transportation. By redesigning key junctions and optimizing transit routes, I aim to transform the city into a model of efficient, modern urban planning where buses actually show up on time. Now, full disclaimer, I'm not a professional, I'm just a YouTuber who happens to have a passion for making City Skylines videos. I'll be using my limited knowledge in urban design that I've picked up over the years to fix these issues to the best of my abilities, but ultimately, this is all just for fun. So grab your hard hat and let's turn Moncton into the city it was always meant to be. And if you're from Moncton, drop a comment down below letting me know what intersection you hate the most in the city. If you're new here, I'm Tim Eister. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and join my journey to rebuild my hometown, one road at a time. In this first episode of Fixing Moncton, we're going to tackle the notorious Dieppe traffic circle. The Dieppe traffic circle is a massive roundabout so huge you can probably see it from space, which is situated near the boundary of Moncton and the neighboring city of Dieppe, connecting several critical roads including Wheeler Boulevard, Main Street, and New Brunswick Provincial Highway 15. Built in the 1970s, it serves as a vital link for commuters traveling between Moncton's downtown and its surrounding region. Dieppe is a city directly neighboring Moncton to the east, kind of like Tacoma to Seattle or Mississauga to Toronto, so the roundabout manages or mismanages a significant daily traffic volume at about 70 to 75,000 vehicles per day. Its terrible reputation stems from its complicated lane configuration, frequent congestion, and overall driver confusion, often leading to accidents, which is exacerbated in the winter and spring months when the road markings are completely snow-covered or faded. A significant source of congestion is 2 of the 3 exit points from the circle lead directly to nearby busy traffic light intersections, causing frequent backups into the circle itself. Roundabouts are typically designed to promote continuous traffic flow by eliminating stops, but when exits lead directly to traffic lights, vehicles leaving the circle can encounter red lights, causing queues to form. This leads to a very dangerous situation, as it's not uncommon for traffic to come barreling into the circle from Highway 15, for example, at way past the posted 60 km/h speed limit towards gridlock traffic. Believe me, I've seen some carnage in this thing because I used to commute through it daily. I lived in the nearby beach town of Shediac, about 20 kilometers east of Moncton, so I entered the city via Highway 15. The problem is the transition from 110 kilometers an hour to just 60 kilometers an hour in a very short span leading into the circle, which is very rarely respected. It's like being in a NASCAR Indy 500 event every single morning. Though this is not entirely the infrastructure's fault, it's more so a driving culture problem. Depending on which direction drivers wish to go in the circle, they likely need to perform 2 or maybe 3 lane changes in quick succession to not miss their exit. So you can imagine this might be very stressful for tourists or somebody who's just not familiar with the region. Drivers aggressively turning at the last second, cutting off traffic is an hourly sight. No different than any exit on any highway, I suppose, but it does seem a bit more common from what I've seen in the circle than on any other off-ramp. It's astounding to me how many people fail to remember the one advantage this giant roundabout possesses. It's a circle. Missed your exit? Go around. During my daily commute through the circle for many years, I would purposely go around every now and then if I didn't see a good opportunity to merge respectfully to the right. I don't know about you, but I like my commute as boring, eventless, and as stress-free as possible. On many occasions at 7 a.m., I just couldn't be arsed to merge to the right. Another round it is, no big deal.
I think I'll do a wraparound.
To make matters worse, the left lane in all 3 entry points into the circle have what I like to call suicide merges, which are basically 2 lanes that aggressively merge into one. This often leads to queues of stopped vehicles waiting to yield into traffic, traveling at 80+ kilometers an hour in the circle. Incredibly dangerous and just an overall terrible design. Having been designed in the 1970s when Moncton was a much smaller city, and possessing multiple safety concerns with its outdated road standards, the Dieppe traffic circle is long overdue for a replacement, in my opinion. Anyways, in this episode, we'll be fixing a lot of these issues that plague this road. We're going to be coming up with a much better solution that is more efficient and won't break the bank. Here's my proposition. I would start by completely removing the Dieppe traffic circle in its entirety, and I'm going to connect Highway 15 directly to Wheeler Boulevard, which is still technically part of Highway 15 anyways. And we're going to be replacing the Dieppe traffic circle with a proper modern interchange. But we have a few options. In the early planning stages of this build, I had to decide what type of interchange would work best in this scenario. We've already rejoined Wheeler Boulevard directly to Highway 15, but now we have the Main Street connector coming together at a T-junction. After some testing with various designs, I finally boiled it down to 2 options, the Y or T interchange and the Trumpet interchange, which I ended up choosing in the end, despite it being inferior in a lot of ways to the T interchange. Now let's compare the 2 types of interchanges, and I'll explain why I think the Trumpet interchange is the better option. Now let's start with the Y interchange. It's smooth, fast, and designed for high traffic volumes, so it would make it very future-proof as the city grows and expands over time. Since all the ramps are direct, vehicles can maintain highway speeds without dealing with sharp turns. This makes it really safe for heavy trucks and keeps traffic flowing very nicely. The downside, though, is that the Y interchange takes up a lot more space. They need longer ramps, which occupies more land, and they're incredibly expensive to build because you need to construct 2 overpasses for the flyover ramps. So, not really a great option for tight spaces. They're usually very effective when intersecting 2 main highways together. On the other hand, there's the Trumpet interchange. The name comes from its signature loop ramp, which makes it look like the bell of a trumpet. This design is much more compact and cost-effective since we only need 1 overpass over the main highway. However, there's one big trade-off, and that is the loop ramp forces vehicles to slow down, especially heavy trucks. However, the road that this loop is connecting to is simply a short connector to Main Street, so we don't need to accelerate to highway speeds. All in all, since I don't have a ton of room here, the Trumpet interchange makes the most sense. It keeps everything grade separated and free-flowing without taking up as much land as a Y or T interchange would. So in this build, the Trumpet is the clear winner. It certainly is going to be much more effective, much safer as well as the roundabout that was here before. The only sad part about all of this, Moncton would lose a very iconic landmark. Now, throughout this whole process of fixing Moncton, no matter what project it is we're working on, I want to be as cognizant as possible to things like budget constraints, land usage constraints, things of that nature that city planners often have to deal with. I want my solutions to be as realistic as possible so that if City Council happens to stumble upon one of my videos, they may think, that might actually be feasible. Now, of course, building crazy 5-stack interchanges is always more fun, but in this series, I'm aiming for feasibility and ultimate realism. And unfortunately, in a small city like Moncton, a 5-stack interchange probably ain't gonna fly. But a simple Trumpet interchange would certainly be more realistic. It's a lot more economical, and judging by how smoothly the traffic is flowing, it seems to be performing better and safer than the traffic circle that was here before. And now we have to move into the second phase of this project, which is eliminating this intersection. Because until we do, all of the problems that were plaguing the Dieppe traffic circle will remain. All of the backups, all of the slowdowns, the congestion, it will all remain the same until we do something about this. Now, this intersection is one of the most notorious ones in Moncton. It's one of the worst traffic bottlenecks in the entire city. So there's nothing we can do for this intersection. It has to go. We have to replace this with a proper interchange. Now, the first thing I am going to do is, first of all, pause the game because having the simulation running just kills my frame rate. And the first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to disconnect King Street. So this should say King Street, but unfortunately it's treating it as one road. But this is Botsford, and this should be King Street. And what's going on here on King Street is, well, this is the real life satellite imagery of this road. There's a lot of weaving going on here as people from both Botsford and King Street are trying to merge onto the highway. Not a very ideal situation, but unfortunately for the people trying to merge onto the highway from King Street are going to have to find an alternative route because we are going to disconnect it. And honestly, I think this is for the best because it's going to make it way quieter for the residents who live along King Street. So we can now go and rename this street to the proper name, and then this will become Botsford Street. Beautiful. And what we are going to do to Botsford Street is we are going to demolish it up to about here, and we're going to do the same thing to Louisville. So the interesting thing about this intersection is it's the delineation from Louisville and Botsford. So the street changes name at this intersection, which makes it a little bit confusing sometimes. But we're going to eliminate this section of Louisville, and then we're going to demolish this entire intersection. All of this has to go up until probably about here, just to give us enough room. And this is going to be no easy task because, as you can see, we are in a very tight constraint. We have buildings on either side of this highway. We have this train overpass as well, which we can't really do much to it because this is the main train line running right through the heart of the city. This is used by both cargo and passenger rail. The Moncton main train station is right here downtown. And then we have the hump yard over here, a big rail yard, and a bunch of industries that make use of this line. So there's no displacing it. There's no rerouting it, anything like that. This is here to stay. This is going to be quite challenging, but I think I have a good idea how we're going to make this work. What we're going to start by doing is we're going to redraw Wheeler Boulevard / Highway 15. And I'm just going to use my parallel tool to quickly do that. So from here, we're going to go under this railroad bridge off into this direction, connecting back up with the main highway over here. And there we go. Just like that, our through traffic is able to go through. And now, rather than having an at-grade intersection, what we're going to do here is I'm going to draw a 4-lane road, same as what's already on the ground, and we're going to build an overpass over the highway. So we'll see how this works. So the overpass is going to cross the highway just like so. And then we'll make a nice curve in this direction to rejoin Louisville Road. Just like that. Beautiful. And then I'll transform this into a bridge. Awesome. And then just to make this a bit cheaper, instead of building a massive overpass the entire way through, we're going to convert parts of it into just an elevated section using fill. There, and we'll build a little wall there. And then I think I can actually lower this by quite a bit, because if I hit play here, and we have one of these dump trucks that, oh my god, what is going on here? Wow. Vehicles are just flying all over the place. But what I'm trying to do is we're going to pause as this garbage truck is right under the overpass, and then we can lower it to an appropriate height. So probably around here. We want a little bit of clearance at least. A little bit of clearance that makes sense. And then we're going to smooth everything out just like so. There, and then we're going to use the topography to our advantage, because Botsford does come down a nice smooth slope, so we can simply flatten out that slope, and then that'll be used for our overpass ramp. There we go. Very nice. Beautiful. So the plan is this. We're going to start by building some on and off ramps onto the highway on this side of the overpass. So this should be pretty straightforward, pretty easy. So we're going to go back into our highway menu. I'm going to extend my 3-lane roads up to about here, and I'm going to do the exact same on this side as well. And now for over here, I'm going to build an off-ramp, and my plan for this intersection is we're going to build kind of a lopsided diamond interchange, and you'll see how this develops. I think it's going to work pretty good. We're going to build this off-ramp to go off into this direction. Actually, before I do anything, one small little detail, just to make everything look nice and cleanly sloped. We're just going to build a nice sloped ramp just like so. And then I can build my exit ramp. There. And there's a reason why I'm building this intersection way out here. First of all, this is all unused swamplands. It's marshy. There's never going to be anything that's going to be built here. So we have all this land to build as long of an off-ramp as we want. And now for the on-ramp, I'm going to start this on-ramp right over here. Unfortunately, it may be a little noisy for this resident, but it can't be any worse than what's already here, honestly. And there's a reason why I'm building this exit starting at this point as well, and I'll go over that in just a moment. So let's try to cram this in here just like that. Beautiful. And there's no reason to make my exits and on-ramps super long, because I would assume the speed limit along this section of road would probably be like 70 or 80 kilometers an hour anyways, due to it being kind of heavily congested and whatnot. So we don't need super long on-ramps. And now for the other side of the overpass, this is going to be a little bit more challenging, as we have this railroad bridge here. I've tried as much as possible to keep this bridge as is, and I've come up to the conclusion that it can stay exactly as is. However, there is some slight modifications that we'll have to do. We're just going to have to extend the bridge on either side just a little bit. So for now, what I'm going to do is convert... Actually, I can just go into my road services and I can convert this section, and I'll do... Well, I don't necessarily need all of this to become a bridge, so I'll just build a little connection like this, and then that will allow me to extend my overpass just to about here. So I think that should be good enough. And the reason why I'm doing this is so we can build our off-ramps over from this direction. We have to make room for the overpasses to connect to Botsford. So I'm going to start off here by just building a little stub and then converting this section of highway into 3 lanes. So then my off-ramp is going to begin right around this point. And the whole reason why I'm building this intersection way out here as opposed to like here, for example, that is to provide enough clearance underneath the bridge for my off-ramp to come in like this. In this case, I think I actually want to make this curve a bit tighter. Probably something like this, and then another left turn, just like so. And then just to sort traffic a bit better, I'm gonna upgrade this into 2 lanes, so we'll have a left and a right turning lane. And judging by this, I think we have enough clearance under the bridge. If not, we may just have to raise it ever so slightly just to provide a little bit more clearance. So just like this. And there we go. We got 3 out of 4 exits plopped down. Things are looking wonderful. Now there's one thing that I would do, and that is build a sound barrier along this ramp, just due to the fact that we're passing so close to these apartment buildings. Just gonna make it a little bit less noisy for them. And I think this is good. And now it's time to work on our final on-ramp. And here's where it's going to get a little interesting. So here's my proposition. What we're gonna do is we're going to provide a connector road. Let me just kind of smooth out this slope a little bit. There we are. And I'm gonna build a 2-lane road in this direction. And we're going to connect up to Church Street. So we're gonna bypass this transformer station, and we should be able to fit a road in this location. And the reason why I'm doing this is Church Street over here is a pretty vital artery to the downtown core. So you can see here, it leads all the way from Elmwood. So this is Elmwood Street. It's Dale Street right now, but it should be Elmwood. And that leads into downtown. So a lot of traffic coming from these neighborhoods along Elmwood would probably prefer going down Church Street, as it's just the shortest route. And then all of the traffic coming from the old Shediac Road, which is this road here, would likely come down Louisville to downtown. So both of these roads more or less head in the same direction, but then the traffic using either of them kind of spreads off into different locations. So by providing a little bit of a connection between these 2 roads, it'll provide a little bit more flexibility to drivers using Louisville and Church. And not only that, this is going to be our main connection point back on to northbound Wheeler Boulevard. So we're going to build a nice smooth exit. I'm going to build it from about here, so we'll upgrade this into a 3-laner. Beautiful. Awesome. And then there's one more little thing I want to do, I think for good measure, just to keep these residents happy. I'm going to build a sound barrier along this side as well. And there we have it. We've effectively created some sort of lopsided diamond interchange. And actually, just to provide a little bit more future-proofing, I suppose, we're going to upgrade this particular off-ramp into a 3-laner. So then that will provide better triaging for the highway traffic that is coming onto Botsford, so they can keep going straight onto this little connector road, turn right or turn left, and then the backups won't be quite as far. So hopefully this off-ramp doesn't back up too badly. If not, we can always extend it because we have all of this land available for use, but I think it should be fine. And then we'll go ahead and build a couple of turning lanes over here, and then we'll do the same here and here. So we'll build a turning lane here, and then a turning lane here. And then just to make this bridge look a bit more symmetrical, let's do something like this. There we go. Beautiful. And well, there we have it. The lopsided diamond interchange that we set out to build is complete. I built it as realistically and as economically as I possibly could, because obviously a project like this, as simple as it may seem in Cities Skylines, would likely cost tens of millions of dollars in real life, which in a small city like Moncton would be quite significant. Despite all this, the interchange seems to be running smoothly and appears to have improved traffic flow considerably. However, the new interchange does not come without a couple of drawbacks. For example, traffic coming to or from downtown that wishes to simply go straight over the new overpass now has to go through 2 sets of lights as opposed to just 1. Additionally, traffic coming from Wheeler Boulevard making a left turn from any off-ramp also has to deal with 2 separate intersections. Despite these drawbacks, I think it's well worth it, as through traffic on Wheeler Boulevard can just fly by with no obstructions, and most of the traffic volume coming through this interchange simply wants to go straight anyways. So I think it's well worth it, and I would assume that the residents of Moncton would be glad to have such an interchange instead of the very pesky set of lights that is there today. This new set of interchanges that we built here in this episode promise to improve traffic flow in a considerable way, making it that much quicker to get across town, and while making everything much safer. As displayed in our traffic info views, we can see just how much of a difference both of these interchanges have made. Traffic flow is much smoother, much quicker, and much safer now. And that will conclude our very first episode of Fixing Moncton, and I really hope you guys are as excited as I am to be embarking on this journey. If there is anything that you would like me to work on specifically in the Moncton region, please drop a comment down below. If there's any intersection that you would like me to rework, if you have any ideas, drop a comment down below. And also, if there's anything that I should have done differently this episode, also drop a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video at all, don't forget to leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well to get notified of future uploads. And if you would like to get early access to all of my videos, consider becoming a patron or a YouTube member. I thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.